So the liberal media is begging Biden to take a page from the 2020 campaign and just keep the whole thing in the basement like last time. The president winning big in the New Hampshire primary, despite the fact that his name was not on the ballot because they decided to skip New Hampshire. So it was all write-in, and he never had to come to the Granite State and campaign at all. Former Obama aide Van Jones thinks that the secret to securing a Biden victory in November may be by doing the same strategy all over again and keeping him out of the public eye. Listen to this.
If I were Biden, I would stay hidden, and I'll tell you why. He doesn't inspire confidence, and he's not a great messenger for himself. Trump's strength, his resilience, is really a reflection of Biden's fragility. Republicans are not afraid of Joe Biden. They're not afraid.
So even when he does come out and he ends up meeting with hecklers by his own party. There were pro-Palestinian agitators interrupting him a dozen times during a speech yesterday. Watch this.
Frankly, Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans, including the woman hollering, this is going to go on for a while. They got this plan.
So, that woman was yelling, "I voted for you."
Yeah.
I voted for you, to Joe Biden, Judge Jeanine. The question is, can the strategy, first of all, you got to just absorb that reaction on the set when he's saying this, when Van Jones, who I think is very straightforward, says what's on his mind. He's like, I don't think he doesn't inspire confidence. And people around the table, Axelrod was there, just kind of, and Kate Bedingfield, who used to be his press secretary and was very involved in the first campaign, just kind of like,
It really is disappointing when you hear Democrats who, people respect them. I respect them for what they're saying. And they're basically saying, he's not a good messenger. He doesn't inspire people. But what kind of party would put up a candidate, a presidential candidate that they openly admit doesn't inspire confidence? He's not a good messenger. I mean, are they so desperate for power that they'd rather appear weak on the world stage, unable to communicate a concept, and subjugate us to Russia and China and North Korea? And you can only have so many surrogates, Martha. I mean, not that many people can go out and say you're the greatest president that ever lived. But, 66% of his own party doesn't want him to run. 77% of them think he's too old. And I don't think it's age, it's cognitive. And so, you have a nobody like Dean Phillips. 99% of the country doesn't know who he is. He gets 20% in New Hampshire when he just started a couple months ago. And finally, Biden is in trouble with blacks, with young voters, with progressives, Hamas, as you just saw, as well as the Latinas. And, there's literally no enthusiasm for this man. And so now he's got a PAC who's going to give $1 million to TikTok to try to get some of these influencers to say, oh, he's such a hot character. And my concern is this, how do the Democrats, yell so much about democracy when they're willing to sell it short by putting out a guy that they don't think is the best candidate for this country?
So, Jess, if you were advising him, how would you tell him to run his campaign?
I would tell him to be out there as much as possible, quite frankly. And we hear a lot about the lack of enthusiasm. Joe Biden, it's the first write-in campaign in history. What happened in New Hampshire? He's on track to get more votes than Barack Obama did in 2012. You talk about Dean Phillips, he got 20%, sure, but let's talk about the unity. There's only 10% of Democratic voters, self-reporting this, that would not supportE Biden. We are completely unified.
But that's the number you expect from an incumbent, right? I mean, that's a normal incumbent number.
But we've been talking about Donald Trump as a quasi-incumbent, at least. He has a record to run on, right? He's acting like he's an incumbent. He actually thinks that he won in 2020, so he's like half an incumbent. And 50%. He gets 50,000 votes, and 70% of his competitors, voters, won't even go for him. But I hear about this basement campaign all the time from 2020 and even from now. We don't see Joe Biden, and it's shocking that we get all this footage somehow. But he is out there, and he's doing meaningful things. He was with the United Auto Workers today, getting their endorsement. And the president talking about how Donald Trump, when they had a strike in 2019, didn't do anything. Yesterday, he had a rally for reproductive rights in Virginia. It's going to be a crucial issue for us. Monday, the Reproductive Health Care Access Task Force. The U.S. Conference of Mayors last Friday, he went to Raleigh on Thursday to talk about broadband access and to meet with an educator who had his student loans forgiven and the impact it's had with his family. And by the way, they made some very meaningful content out of all of that. The man is not hiding, and he's doing well, and Democrats are happy with their choice.
Well, then the choice is likely to be Trump versus Biden, Charlie. Yeah. And I'm thinking about the moment in New Hampshire yesterday when President Trump was coming out of an event and he went over and started talking to reporters, and you could see his people like, we got to go. But no. He wants to answer more questions and more questions and more questions, all off the cuff, right. All, very transparent. So what's this race going to look like between these two people?
Well, I think it's, I don't think anybody actually voted, except for maybe Jill and Hunter, actually voted for Joe Biden. Everybody's voting against, the Democrats are voting against Donald Trump, which is what the unity there is. But the thing that I think is most amazing about what happened yesterday is that you have, in this election, where Democrats are going to try to make it all about democracy and election integrity, they conducted a fake election. None of the votes that were cast yesterday are going to actually count.
No delegates.
Which is amazing to me that they're going to be lecturing us about elections and democracy. And luckily for the Biden camp, some people got together and dragged him across with the write-in campaign, which is helpful for him, I guess. But I don't think that it means that there is going to be great unity once you get into the throes of a general election.
You have so many people, Greg, David Axelrod, Van Jones, saying he doesn't inspire anyone and he should stay in the basement. But can that work twice? Can that work 4 years apart when that whole situation was COVID-driven? At least that was the cover.
Well, his numbers are in the basement, so he can keep it company. It does it's got to suck when the person you claim you're going to support and vote for president, you have to hide. I mean, you actually are saying it out loud that he's my guy, but we can't show him. We can't take him outside, but we're willing to have him as president. How can you hold those thoughts in your head? So as you know, I always offer suggestions because I'm that type of person. You know, the Pope has a Pope mobile.
Yeah.
I think they should have a basement mobile. And so they could put Joe in a basement. It's just a moving basement. Right? And he could just sit there. He can have his hot cocoa, maybe some pudding, and it just moves around. It's wide, and he can feel very comfortable. Because I think the examples that Jessica gave of things that he's doing are kind of layups. I mean, student forgiveness and, abortion rallies. Yeah, you're killing loans and babies. He's used to that. I think we're building toward a scenario where Joe Biden will be seen as justified not to debate Trump.
Yep.
Right?
No
we
question.
can't give Trump's evil ideas any traction. I mean, CNN and MSNBC have already done that. So I think this is how if he's not doing this, if he's not even going to bother campaigning, he sure as hell is not going to debate. And I think that's going to say something. What it is, I don't know.
Well, Trump will want to debate him. You can guarantee that.
Oh, he'll
Trump will want to debate him.
But Trump didn't show up for any of the debates.
He didn't have to.
And public appearances outside of a courthouse are not really meaningful to the American
He said
public.
from the beginning that he wants to debate in the general election. That he said when it comes to that, you would have to debate in the general election.
Yes, and the strength and the resilience that Van Jones talked about just shows how
Van Jones loves to blow up Democrats on TV.
Okay, so now we're going to criticize him. He's a well-respected Democrat himself.
I love
Jessica.
that you love a Democrat. But
Yeah, I love you, in spite of what you think.
All right, so
right back at you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.